Hello and welcome to the Minimum Covenants episode for Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. I'm your host for today, Andrew Leahy, a tax and technology attorney from New Jersey. On today's episode, we have states suing Trump over tariffs, a DOJ probe into Andrew Cuomo, and a judge tossing the Treasury's case against an IRS worker union contract. Let's remember, I distrust those people who know so well what God wants them to do because I notice it always coincides with their own desires. And read today's legal news. On this day in legal history, May 21st, 1919, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, granting women the right to vote. The amendment stated simply, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. After decades of organizing, lobbying, and protest by suffragists, including Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Alice Paul, this marked a major legislative victory in the long fight for women's suffrage. The amendment was first introduced in Congress in 1878, but languished for over 40 years before gaining sufficient political traction. The context of World War I played a pivotal role as women took on new roles in the workforce and in public life during the war. Their contributions made it politically difficult to deny them voting rights. President Woodrow Wilson, initially lukewarm on the issue, eventually lent his support, which helped sway key votes. Following the House vote on May 21st of 1919, the amendment proceeded to the Senate, where it was passed on June 4th of that same year. Ratification by the states took just over 1 year, with Tennessee becoming the decisive 36th state to ratify on August 18th of 1920. The 19th Amendment was officially certified on August 26th that same year. This moment was a turning point in constitutional law regarding civil rights and voting equality, setting the stage for later expansions through the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and the ongoing debates over voter access and gender equality. 12 U.S. states, led by Democratic attorneys general from New York, Illinois, and Oregon, are challenging President Donald Trump's recent imposed Liberation Day tariffs in federal court. The states argue that Trump misused the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to justify tariffs on imports from countries with which the U.S. runs trade deficits. They claim the law doesn't authorize tariffs and that a trade deficit does not qualify as a national emergency. The case will be heard by a 3-judge panel at the Court of International Trade in Manhattan, which also recently heard a similar lawsuit from small businesses. Oregon's Attorney General Dan Rayfield said the tariffs were harming consumers and small businesses, estimating an extra $3,800 per year in costs for the average family. The Justice Department contends that the state's claims are speculative and that only Congress can challenge a president's national emergency declaration under IEEPA. Trump's tariff program began in February with country-specific measures and escalated to a 10% blanket tariff in April before being partially rolled back. His administration defends the tariffs as necessary for countering unfair trade practices and reviving U.S. manufacturing. Multiple lawsuits, including ones from California, advocacy groups, businesses, and Native American tribes, are challenging the tariff regime. The U.S. Justice Department is investigating former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, now a leading Democratic candidate for New York City mayor, over Republican allegations that he misled Congress about his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic while in office. The inquiry reportedly stems from a referral by a GOP-led House subcommittee which cited Cuomo's closed-door testimony before the Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. Cuomo's campaign says it was not notified of the probe and denounced the investigation as politically motivated lawfare driven by Trump allies. Critics argue the Justice Department is being used to target political opponents, while Trump and his supporters maintain that prior cases against him were politically biased. Cuomo, who resigned in 2021 following a state attorney general report accusing him of sexual misconduct, which he still denies, is the presumed frontrunner in the June 24th Democratic mayoral primary. He is set to face incumbent Eric Adams, now running as an independent after facing and being cleared of federal charges. The Justice Department has not publicly confirmed or commented on the Cuomo probe, and his spokesperson insists the former governor testified truthfully and transparently. A federal judge in Kentucky dismissed a lawsuit by the U.S. Treasury Department that aimed to cancel a labor contract with IRS workers in Covington. Judge Danny Reeves ruled that the Treasury lacked legal standing to bring the suit and granted summary judgment in favor of the National Treasury Employees Union, or NTEU, Chapter 73. This marks a legal defeat for the Trump administration's broader attempt to weaken federal employee union rights through an executive order. The administration had filed similar lawsuits in Kentucky and Texas following Trump's directive that claimed 2/3 of federal employees could be excluded from labor protections under national security grounds. In response, the NTEU filed its own legal challenge in Washington, D.C., where Judge Paul Friedman temporarily blocked the order's implementation. However, a federal appeals court later paused that injunction while the Trump administration appeals. This decision in Kentucky slows momentum for the administration's effort to restrict collective bargaining for federal workers, though related cases continue to play out in other jurisdictions. The NTEU was represented by both in-house and private attorneys, while the Justice Department defended the administration's position. And with that, and as always, I thank you so much for listening to Minimum Competence, your daily news podcast for lawyers. If you're looking for more than minimum competence, links to further reading on all the topics touched on today are in the show notes. And reviews go a long way towards helping new listeners to find our show. If you have a moment, you can leave a rating or review on your podcast player. We'd sure appreciate it. And if you know someone that might be interested in a story we cover, consider sending them the episode. But remember, nothing here should be construed as legal advice because it is certainly not that. Minimum Competence is available at minimumcomp.com and wherever you get your finely crafted podcasts. If you haven't checked out the website in a while, give it a look. There are complete transcripts and resources for each episode and its corresponding segments, as well as an opportunity to receive new episodes in email, newsletter, form. We'll see you back here tomorrow, and until then, remember, men, their rights and nothing more. Women, their rights and nothing less.